Hi there, welcome to Lucky Speaks, and I changed the subject today for something different. Back in the mid-90s, I went on holiday to a place that was still up and coming. I don't know what it's like now, might not have been up and coming, might have stayed the same. But went on holiday to Grenada, which at the time, I don't know, you could count the number of hotels that you visited on the back of your hand, and Virgin flew one flight a week out there and one flight a week back. And I went there for 3 weeks, most boring 3 weeks of my life, to be said. I hated it, really. I'm not a beach person. I can't stand sitting around. I like the hustle and bustle. Hence why I like Vegas so much. And spent so much time in Las Vegas, over 100 trips, and keep going back. But I went to, Grenada, keep that girlfriend happy that, we were there, and, we spent all day on the beach. And then, as is usual in the Caribbean, you're told, fuck's sake, don't go on the beach at night because all the druggies are out there, and you have to stay out the way. Grenada was quite underdeveloped, so it's quite an interesting place in a way, but the locals weren't exactly all that welcoming. They weren't that friendly. They kind of followed you around. You had to go everywhere by taxi and by official excursion. You couldn't really leave the resort as it goes, unless you were with a party, So we used to go out at night time and things like that. Anyway, we used to go on the beach, and what we noticed was that there was the drainage all went down through the beach and out into the sea, directly out into the sea. And you had this little concrete kind of, it's like a tunnel made of concrete blocks. They blocked it out, so you could walk inside there apparently. And I didn't think much of it, but of course when the rainwater came, it just washed straight out into the sea. But as I later found out, they do. At the time, they used to put their turds down and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, it wasn't very nice, that. But the place, Grenada is Caribbean. It's a nice place. You used to get the rain at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, as usual. I can't remember what time of year it was. I think it might have been around October time, so it was either just before or just after hurricane season, which, climate con people, we've always had fucking hurricanes, all right? It's not global warming, it's just hurricanes. We've always had them, we always will. Anyway... but we used to go on a beach, and we always noticed there's one great big black fella. He must have been 6'4", 6'5", great big bloke, but he's really skinny. But he looked wild, and he was obviously one of these druggies. We were warned about him. I mean, we nicknamed him Psycho, because he basically walk up and down the beach, basically shoving a coconut in people's faces, offering to cut the coconut up, and he'd have a bloody great machete, frighten anybody to death. So now I like jet skiing, so we've had a few run-ins with Psycho, and he's tried to tell me that the Americans are responsible for the baked bean factory being blown up or something like that. And I love America, so I rode back with him. He kind of knew to stay away from me, so he didn't bother my girlfriend when we were there because, he didn't get on with me, and I pretty much made my feelings felt. So anyway, this one day I go out and I get on the jet ski. And I used to go out for a good hour or so, because I loved it. I used to go out there and just spin around and stuff like that, but, one day I did go straight over the top of a shark, which I'll tell that story in a minute. But anyway, so I'm out on the jet ski, and I'm just dapping about, and every so often just checking up, make sure she's still there, still all right. And I watch, and I can see Psycho making his way towards her. You cheeky bastard. He's seen I'm not there, and he's shot over there. So I stop, and I'm watching, and he goes over there, and I can see she's having a heated argument with this idiot. So I thought, I can't have this. So starts up, and I flew, wallop towards the beach, fast as I possibly could. I hit the beach, I didn't stop, I was straight at the beach, I'm halfway up the bloody sand. I just ass over tit off this bloody thing, managed basically to scramble straight to my feet, and I start running at him, and he shits himself. He's off down the beach with his bloody machete in one hand, coconut in the other, and screaming and shouting. He's running down there. He jumps in this corridor thing, which had a lid at one end that had been taken off. He jumps in there, that's where he's obviously living. He jumped in there, straight into a load of shit. I looked over the top, he's absolutely covered from head to toe in shit out of this bloody sewerage pipe. And I said, go near her again, I'll fucking kill you. And he's frightening to death, terrified, and it did. But he was just weird. And it was just, that was, back in those days, I think they were just so, tourism was so new. I think Virgin had been flying there for a short while. I think that was why she booked it. But, it was just, it wasn't very nice. It wasn't as nice. I've been to Jamaica, I've been to Barbados, all these places, and they're nice. They are dangerous at night, don't get me wrong. I mean, they still are. But most of the people tend to sort of appreciate you during the day because you're spending money, so they don't seem to worry. But Grenada didn't seem to be, they didn't seem to have connected it like that. And Port Stanley was the only place really you could go that, I think it was Port Stanley, I think it was called Port Stanley, the capital. It was, you know, it was okay. It was a bit like going to Lyme Regis, the buildings, because it was obviously built by the British at some point. But really outside of there, the people were pretty poor, to be fair. And so they didn't really trust anybody. And they, obviously the money was all flowing to certain people on the island, not to the general population, I think. But anyway, so that's that. So like I say, I like jet skis. So I go out every day on the jet skis. And I'm chatting to this fella one day and about jet skis and all that. And I said, well, we might have renting a boat later on. I said, we'd get a boat and we'll float round to the main, you know, Port Stanley, whatever it's called. I think Port Stanley in the Falklands or something. I'm thinking of something else, like whatever it's called anyway. He said, oh, well, he said, you know, you've got to watch over the sharks. Fucking sharks. You didn't tell me about sharks before. Oh, well, you know, you won't see sharks very often. He said, but, you know, in the boat. I said, well, I see one in the boat and I see one in the jet ski. Why didn't you warn me? No, you won't see a shark. All right. So, you know, I go out on the jet ski, I'm fine, I'm dapping about, I'm launching the bloody thing in the air, crashing out in the water, falling off the damn thing, swim back, jump on, off I go. Not a care in the world. All of a sudden I'm out there, and I'm quite a ways out, and I'm just sort of sitting there, I'm having a fag, and I'm just sort of just bottering across the water, just gently, having a cigarette, look down, and this bloody shape went underneath me. Obviously, I thought it was like 50 foot long. It clearly wasn't. It was probably 8 foot long or something like that, like a normal size shark. But I shot myself. I looked out, fucking hell. So I just hammered off and I hit that bloody beach. And I actually broke the jet ski. I hit the beach so fast. I broke the jet ski. And they're like, oh, I'll pay for that. I said, no, there's a bloody shark out there. You told me there wouldn't be any sharks out there. It would be if I got too far in the boat. So just destroyed his jet ski, but that didn't go down very well, I must admit. But can't remember we were paying for it, so someone did, not me. But it was all cash back in those days, no credit cards. They couldn't trace you anyway if they wanted to, so it was quite good fun. Unlike nowadays, they track you down and stick you with a bill 3 months after you've come back. I've had that with speeding fines before. Anyway, that was Grenada. I spent most of my holiday, I think, on the old phones and that, trying to get a flight back, and of course all I could get was either wait for Virgin. BA I think had a flight as well, I think probably same day. Knowing Virgin, they probably flew same days as BA, and apart from that you'd have to get a flight to Miami and then from Miami to Britain. It was all convoluted, and even that wasn't very often. It was, you know, it was crazy. And the quotes I was getting, I was ringing all these different people, and it just, you know, you first had to charge for a plane, which was ridiculous money. So I didn't end up going home. I just waited and came home naturally. But I'd never go back there again. But I just, like I said, I don't like beaches. So there we go. Anyway, if you like these odd, weird stories, then please subscribe and send some likes. And if you don't like me, obviously tell me as well. I don't mind. Get some comments, a bit of banter with me. Carry on. Thanks very much.